Why is Scandinavia more indoctrinated than the rest of the world? And I think the biggest one is Sweden, because they're so feminine. And, you know, feminine people are more agreeable and want to be more secure and follow what is safest, which is like to make sure you have the most popular belief. So to make sure that the population is easiest to control, it's make sure to make them as feminine as possible. And Sweden is so ripe for that because they have in the culture that they can't be be rude. So they have like no way of expressing themselves with their language. Like they can not say, "Oh, oh, that's shit," stuff like that. It's just like they have like no way of playing with language to make sure that they can express whatever frustration they might have at a. Like they just have to be, that's pleasant, you know. So therefore, you have like a whole country that don't question Islam immigration. They don't question Greta Thunberg, which is like a huge embarrassment to Sweden. Like if it was any other country, then they would be like, hey, why is this lunatic, this little spoiled brat representing us? Like, can't we just make her shut up? But you know, Sweden is just ripe for that because no one asks questions. It's just a very feminine country. Um, and all of Scandinavia is quite feminine, but Sweden especially is like just the way they speak, like this high pitch, you know. So at least there, Denmark is blessed with having a, you know, doesn't sound as pretty, but it's definitely a more masculine tone, and it's also in the culture that it's okay to be rude and tell jokes. Like nothing comes out of Sweden that's fun, because to be funny, you have to risk being a little rude and offensive, which the Swedes don't. They have no creativity. It's like the most boring country in the entire world, and there's no strong men. Like everything is just like this toxic femininity, where all idea kind of perish because ideas can be offensive. So therefore, just follow along, be indoctrinated. Yeah, repeat the propaganda as many times as possible to make sure that you are aligned with your peers to be safe, which is pretty fucking gay. I quit smoking, but I ran out of the nicotine pouches, which is another good thing that came out of Sweden was the snooze, which I enjoy. But I find it so embarrassing to be right next to Sweden, and they have to share like a common language with Denmark. But I'm also embarrassed about Denmark. Denmark is also very indoctrinated, but at least they're not as feminine. They're still very feminine, but at least not to the whole like super gay extent to Sweden. They still have jokes. They still have. They don't have the religion of not being rude. Yeah. So I'm gonna get some nicotine pouches and I'm gonna quit again. You know, this is just for the morning coffee. For the morning coffee. Yeah. Scandinavia is just a huge embarrassment. It used to be like that's the problem. In the Scandinavian culture, women was always sort of equal to men. Of course, men went to battle and stuff. And the whole thing about the indoctrination, public schooling, how that happened, well, that was, you know, the Prussia. And Denmark knows about that, or should do, because we lost the war against Prussia. where they made public schooling for boys to make them not flee in combat, to indoctrinate them to be compliant soldiers that didn't flee. And that is used as propaganda for the ladies or the feminine shit, feminism, that they were somehow left out of this revolution of public schooling. Well, you didn't have to go to combat, right? So pretty retarded way of looking at history. Like men and women were, you know, basically slaves and still are. So to make sure that slavery can continue, they make sure to battle the sexes. And ladies are just easier, or feminine people, which is why you have all these feminine men. There is no strong men in Sweden. They are all, borderline women. Or I guess in this new age, there will be like all the men in Sweden are basically transgender, which is pretty gay and stupid. And it's no way to elevate a society. So therefore, Sweden is in decay because they stand for absolutely nothing. Right? They take all these immigrants in from Islamic countries where they are definitely, well, very aggressive and violent when it comes to a certain book. And instead of saying anything about it, it's like, hey, let's bend over and remove freedom of speech. They do it in Denmark, they do it in Sweden. To make sure that these violent people, well, they won't be violent, right? Because, oh, they are very passionate about this. Let's bend over. Like, let's adapt to all the newcomers because they can't adapt to our society. So let's do it for them, which is, again, pretty gay. Yeah. Yeah. That's about my cup of coffee.